You are listening to Get Down to Business, the show all about small business, jobs, and entrepreneurship. I am your host, Shalom, Klein, and I am very excited to welcome Karen McCall, who joins us here on the program. Karen, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Shalom. Thanks for having me. Lovely to be here.
It's great to have you. So you went, I'm fascinated by your story. You went from dodging IRS calls to helping thousands of people get out of debt and build a life and business they love. You're the founder of the Financial Recovery Institute and the creator of the money management program, Money Grits. So it's exciting that we're having this conversation still in Q1 of 2021. So there's still an opportunity to make those New Year's resolutions and get on the right foot. So Karen, let's start with your story. Let's start with understanding your background. Dodging IRS calls, what caused that and how did you turn that around?
Well, I went through a divorce, got a nice big lump sum of money that bigger amount than I'd ever had. And I just put my head in the sand. I'd never learned about money. My husband had always handled the money. And I just went through it and then just started running up credit card debt. And I had not dealt with the fact that this money that I got from my divorce settlement, there were tax consequences. So I realized I had to go to work, and I went to work, and I just had this big bowl on top of my refrigerator and just stuffed all the bills and notices in there. Came home from work one day, and if you'd have seen me then, Shalom, you would have thought I was a success because I was working in corporate America, big, beautiful corporate building in San Francisco, working for the second largest computer company in the world. And like I said, if you'd have seen me, you would have thought, wow, what a success. But, I had that dirty little secret, that big bowl on top of my refrigerator. Came home from work one day and saw an eviction notice, a potential eviction notice on my door. So I realized it was time to do something. I was dating a guy at the time who kept bringing me these wonderful binders of self-help cassettes. So one night I thought, okay, I opened a bottle of wine, I pulled the bowl down, and I went through the stack of binders and pulled out one by Dr. Robert Schuller, Possibility Thinking, put those tapes on, and realized I had to face the music. And I had absolutely no idea what to do. And so I looked in the yellow pages. At that time there were yellow pages. There wasn't any Google. And I found financial planners and budget counselors, and that was my choice. So I went to budget counselors, and they wanted to kind of put me on a budget, give them my paycheck, they would pay my bills, and that lasted about 2 minutes. So I realized, my gosh, this was a serious situation. So what I did was I started on my journey of getting smart with money. And what I realized was that there were probably a lot of people like me caught in this gap between the financial planners, and advisors and budget counselors. So I started my business.
And you've spent the past 30 years working with small business owners and have seen many people struggle with self-employment, working with hundreds of solopreneurs, small business owners, and have helped them to actually be profitable. And also you specifically comment in your bio, feed their soul. So let's get into it. What is the most important thing that a business owner can do to help their own business flourish?
And the way I realized that I had to work with business people was I started out just working with people on their personal finances, and everyone who had their own business, they had a back door. They could start on spending plans, but it's like, oh, I can just do that through my business. And so I realized I had to develop a process for business owners. And so that was kind of the last piece of the puzzle that I put together. And what I realized when people worked and used this approach on both their personal and their business finances, their businesses just flourished and they thrived. And so what I think the most important thing is that number one indicator of a person's success in business is their relationship with money. They've got to get smart with money. And they have to understand that there's an emotional, spiritual, and practical aspect to their relationship with money. The numbers are it's not just data. They can learn a lot about themselves and about their deepest needs and what really is going to light their fire. If they really get grounded in their numbers and understand the emotions and the psychology that drive a lot of their behaviors.
Absolutely. And I mentioned this earlier. You use the term, you throw this around quite a bit, of feeding your soul. So Karen, can you describe what you mean by having a business that feeds your soul? and importantly, your wallet as well?
I'll use myself as an example. When I was working in corporate America, it got to the point it was really hard to get up and go to work in the morning. And I had my very first client February 2nd, 1989, and I've never had that feeling since because my work really makes a difference in people's lives. And I think that if we think about the spiritual aspect, for example, I think most people want to feel that they're making a difference or they have some purpose. And so for entrepreneurs, so often they will be coming at it from that angle, something they're interested in, but pretty soon it becomes just a drag because it becomes such a financial burden for them to grow their business because they really haven't learned how to handle their money, how to determine what their needs are on a personal level or even on a business level. So I say, how do you feed your soul and your wallet? What I always felt in my work is when I go to bed at night, I love that I make a good living. That's fantastic. But what I really loved was the fact that my work made a difference in people's lives. And I think everybody wants to feel that at some level.
Fulfilled, absolutely, and
Mm-hmm.
that's the common theme over here, and I think that perhaps that's one of the rude awakenings that perhaps COVID has had as we've sort of hunkered down and staying safe, certainly focusing on what really matters. It's not about the number of zeros in the bank account, but actually, again, feeling good about what you do. And I know, Karen, you feel good about what you do, and you should because you're working with so many people, helping them be successful. So, what are some of the beliefs about money that can hinder a person's ability to create the business that they really want and maybe even need?
Yeah, I'll talk about that. I'll start by saying that one of the things that I say to people and have written about is the fact that we can never get enough of what we don't need. So it's very important for each of us to discover what are our deepest needs on every level. And so many people are coming from a place that they don't really believe that they have needs, or they believe that they don't deserve to have their needs met. And so if they have that belief, then they're probably not going to be successful because they just don't believe that they are worthy or that they deserve. So one of the things that I have people do is I have them write a money autobiography so they can see how they develop some of their beliefs and attitudes about money, how they develop their belief systems about money that drive their behaviors with money. And a lot of times, it really goes back to childhood where perhaps they lived in a home where, they just didn't have their needs met. So they just felt, I don't deserve, they're not worthy. So they don't have a container to really hold success. So that's one of the things I think it starts with is understanding what your childhood messages were. And if that's the way you're wired, then that's got to be worked on.
Wow. And so, Karen, finally, how can a business owner build a plan when they don't know what they are going to earn?
That's the number one objection when someone calls a money coach and they say, hey, I'm in business, but how can I plan? How can I do a spending plan when I don't know what I'm going to earn? And what I say is it's more important than ever because you will, business people, when they have to be in charge of their own income, it brings them face to face with their beliefs about money, right? And so it's very, very important that they're totally grounded in the numbers, not just in the work they do, not just looking at their numbers from the rearview mirror, but to plan. So you start out by saying, we're going to do a spending plan, create a GPS for the month by doing a spending plan going into the month. And then as time goes on, they're going to start seeing, they're tracking against their plan. They can see. So in the beginning, they make estimate. They don't know what they're going to make. But I'll just give you an example. I've worked with several people where, what do you think you're going to make this month? And they'll throw out a number. And I'll say, okay, so let's list the clients that they're going to come from. I'm thinking particularly of contractors, for example. For some reason, one year I had a lot of contractors and a lot of lawyers. And they would throw out these numbers, but then when you would ask them, so have you billed them yet? And they said, well, no, I haven't really billed them yet. Or they billed them, but they haven't followed up. to see when they're going to pay. So
Sure.
they have to really come to terms with the fact that they've got to be grounded in the reality. And
Karen, we're going to have to leave it there because I'm coming up against a hard break over here. Karen, you've shared so much with us, and I know that our listeners can continue the conversation with you by connecting at financialrecovery.com and moneygrit.com. But Karen, I would love to invite you back on the program coming up real soon. Appreciate you sharing your expertise. Thanks so much for joining us.
Okay, thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Absolutely, and we'll be back on Get Down to Business in just a moment.